Welcome back to Tranquility du Jour, nourishing conversations about living a full and meaningful life with doses of tranquility. This is episode 612, and I'm your host, Kimberly Wilson, bringing you tranquility through this podcast since 2005. So I wanted to share a Life Lately episode with a peek into what I'm reading, what I'm working on, delighting in, struggling with, and really kind of a bit about what's on the horizon. So first of all, I want to say a big thank you to everyone for your kindness around my 50th birthday, which feels like forever ago. I guess at this point, it's about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And yet I'm still celebrating, so I'm still meeting up with friends and having the teas and whatnot in honor of the 50th. And it just feels like I could keep going with this. It's so lovely. And, the whole experience, too, of it coinciding with ballet performance, the whole festival that happened in Miami, and then everything leading up to that, I almost feel like since I've been back that I've had just a bit of, I won't say a letdown by any means, but just I spent months in preparation, like nonstop preparation, you guys. I mean, at one point I was doing 2 private sessions for point a week, sometimes 2 private point sessions and private with my main teacher, Sean Kelly. And it was just like, oh my goodness, like it was so much. And then, of course, taking regular group classes too. And anytime I wasn't practicing, I was feeling guilty for not practicing. So it's just funny, right? I mean, the effort that goes into it. And just yesterday, I posted on Instagram, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes, but a reel that shows the progress. And I don't even show you what happened in December because we did work on it in person in December also. But for this 2-minute and 45-second piece, the amount of work and time that went into it, I can't even imagine. It's hard to fathom really the amount of hours. But in this reel, which is 60 seconds, it shows you February, April practices and then June performance. So you get to see progress. But again, if you had seen, which I don't actually think we recorded in December, then it's probably better that way because if you see the February recording, it's like, wow. But I share that, to see and to honor kind of the effort and the growth there, but also to share with you, how much goes into just a tiny little snippet of our lives, right? And I hope it gives a little bit of insight into what goes into an entire performance and practice and experience and how, it can seem like, oh, wow, like that, I still am not 100% pleased, of course, with the ultimate performance. But, it's like you look at that and you're like, oh, it was actually okay. But look at the rehearsals and you're like, oh, wow, like you had a long way to go. So even I just share that with you as you think about kind of in your own life, maybe a skill that you're hoping to develop or hone or get more comfortable in, or maybe, even like me, I'll watch a ballet and I'm like, oh my goodness, like how do they do that? Right? And then how do you in turn take a big dream and then break it down into these little bite-sized goals, right? So for me, it was a lot of private sessions. You can get a lot of this in group classes for sure, but not catered on your body, your particular piece, and, somebody who's just like really watching and giving feedback. So anyway, the joy of private sessions, and that's, I think, one of the beauty of like therapy or coaching, right, is this one-on-one work. It's really honed in and focused on you. And I think as we get older, one thing I've learned is over the years, I have done a lot of wonderful group experiences. And now that I've gotten older, I'm just a little bit more like, I think I need a little bit more one-on-one support and help and nurturing. And it's a lot about building relationships. So anyway, coming back from that has been, again, I won't say a letdown. It's just been like, whew, that door is closed. That chapter is behind me. And winning the gold, of course, was like a massive highlight. Would I have been delighted had I not won the gold or even placed? Probably would still be proud of myself, but going from silver last year to gold this year really meant so much to me. And again, one of the judges I talked to afterwards, and he was like, yeah, I saw so much progress between the first year and the second year for you. So it's nice when our progress is acknowledged, right? When it's seen by others and by ourselves. And sometimes we need to do things like that Instagram reel, but, you can do it privately, not something necessarily that you have to post, but just shows like your evolution as a writer or as a designer or as a human being, right? And if we think about, oh, this is how I used to react to things, and now I am reacting a little differently, right? So there's all sorts of ways in which we can look, engage, and notice our ongoing progress and evolution. So, and then, since I've been back too, my partner has been away, about 14, 15 days so far, which is really challenging with solo parenting. I've been trying to do the math, and I would say, because our dogs are somewhat special needs, one in particular, that's about 3 to 4 hours of dog care per day. And this was from feeding to 4 walks a day. One needs to be, or likes to, he could feed himself, but he likes to be hand fed and then brought water and carried up and down and, the whole thing, right? So it's been a pretty intense. Really, gosh, how long have I been back? Not just a little over a month, right? So with that, in addition, during this time of solo parenting, acclimating back to reality after having been away for 2.5 weeks, having this big moment of turning 50 and the performance, launched the Salon last month. And I just want to say, or last week, August 1st, and I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for your support with that. I've never done like a Patreon or anything like that or advertising. And so it was kind of one of those ways because I really debated, should I set up a Substack? Because I thought that would be super fun. Then I was like, I just don't want people to have to log into something else. So I thought creating the Salon would be a fun way to offer a few additional tools and also have support of the work that I put out into the world. So I just want to say a big, big thank you. It's $9 a month or $99 for the year, which saves you, 1 month. And then you also get this great little PDF that is all about tranquilosophy, which are, the 5 tenets of Tranquility du Jour. So again, I just want to say a big, big thank you for supporting my work in that way and for being a listener and all that good stuff. And that brings me also to the other thing that I am doing right now. And I just posted on the blog, in the newsletter, and also put out on social, is a survey and a giveaway. So some of you, back in the day, you may remember Tranquilista came out in 2010. Well, the publisher let me know this year that they were no longer going to be printing it. And I would then in turn receive the rights. And I was like, I've been working on this memoir for so long. I too have my draft 2.0, fairly solid, but wasn't fully clicking. And so I was like, well, this gives me I'll put that on pause for a little bit, work on revising Tranquilista, probably even with a new title and subtitle, but the bones of it will be similar, but I'm going to edit and revise it with a bent toward midlife. And so with that, I put out a survey asking you all for your feedback, and in exchange offered a Paris care package as a giveaway. So I'll have a link to that in the show notes in case you missed that at all in the love note or on the blog, because I really want your feedback. And I've already heard from 50 plus of you, and your input on midlife is just so helpful, right? The challenges involved, the beauty too, but the challenges that come along with midlife, which are very different than what I was writing about in 2010 when, my goodness, how old was I? I can't really do the math, 37, right? So very, very different perspective. And I probably wrote it then when I was 35 or 36. So much has shifted. I mean, I think I even mentioned blackberries in there. So clearly there needs to be a lot of revision. But I welcome feedback, especially those of you who read or remember Tranquilista. Would love to hear your thoughts. And everyone else, even if you haven't, you've never even heard of the book, if you could fill out the survey, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes, I would be so grateful. And you have until August 21st to give feedback to then in turn enter the giveaway, but also to be incorporated into the book because I will start working on that mid-September once I am finished up with the mental health micro course. So I've got micro courses launching in mid-September, all of the tenets, a full tenets course, which used to be called TDJ Lifestyle, and then this brand new one, mental health micro course, which what I'm hearing from so many people, particularly in midlife, is stress management and the overwhelm of trying to do all the things for all the people. And I'll say, even with these little beings that I have been solo parenting, there's days where I'm like feeding them. Obviously, I'm walking them and I'm like, Gizmo, can I please eat? It's like, I am making sure you're fed. I'm starving. I haven't bathed in 3 days because when I bathe, you get upset. It's just like, and he can't be left alone. That's the thing. That's the clincher. These dogs cannot be left alone. And even I can't really even do like takeout at a restaurant because I can't leave them outside while I go in and to get my order. I mean, I could, but it disturbs other people because they start crying and barking. So anyway, it's truly like entrapment. Last week, I hired a sitter so I could go hear some live jazz at the Phillips Collection and have dinner by myself. Just needed a little peace and quiet. And, that's what I'm dealing with. Anyway, I share all that to say, like, it's hard, right? When we don't have time to take care of ourselves because we're taking care of others. And that is one thing that I feel like I'm definitely hearing from you all. And that I really wanted to emphasize with regard to the mental health micro course of how do we manage that when we are just like feeling at our wits' end. And I know for many people, they're caring for maybe their children and then also their parents, right? So it's like the sandwich generation challenge. And even if you don't have kids, maybe it's pets, plants, homes, the whole thing. And then maybe dealing with aging parents. So there's just so much coming at us. And how do we navigate it? And not to be like, oh, everything's just great and easy. I mean, it's not. Things are hard. And it's hard too when our bodies aren't working the same way and everything hurts. And, we start losing our hair, like all sorts of stuff, right? This is what I'm seeing in the feedback that I'm getting so far. So I just want to say thank you, A, for being so honest, and B, also just recognize it is hard and how can we be extra gentle to ourselves. And so the micro course will really talk a lot about things like that, from self-esteem to building a supportive tranquility toolkit that has like your mental health like network, to ways to, of course, juggle and manage stress and incorporate mindfulness and deal with cognitive distortions, which are the ways that our mind plays tricks on us. Like, for example, and this is the one that I love personally, is catastrophizing, where everything is like the biggest deal ever, right? And so it's a cognitive distortion, and that just means it's like a trick of sort that our mind plays on us, right? So the more we become aware of these, the more we can identify them and then ideally have less suffering in our lives. So look for that coming out very soon. And be sure to join the waitlist because you guys will get a little extra bonus. And you can do that, of course, over at KimberlyWilson.com/micro courses. And I cannot wait to release and share that with you. So, and then after that, once I wrap that up, I'm going to turn to the book. So I really value your input in the survey. And then also in 2024, I plan to release a midlife micro course that will give lots of tips based on what I am seeing and hearing, within my own life, but also within yours. So please help me shape that to what would be most meaningful to you. Also, one little plug I want to give is that the Coterie doors, for the first time ever, I opened it mid-year, just for like a week or two, and they close tonight, August 7th tonight. So if you are interested in joining, if you join before 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I have a self-care masterclass that's happening. And then on Saturday, we have an art journaling bonus. So there's like 14 live events still to go this year. Then you get replays of everything else that's happened this year. So really, really lovely community of people. So the one thing I wanted to mention too that I'm reading that I just adored, and I actually finished it during my birthday trip, but it's called Midlife Bites by Jen Mann. And it's just funny and also a little cringy in the way of just like you kind of see yourself in it, like, but in a way where you feel like, oh, like she gets it, or I get it. I get what she's talking about. It's a really, really good book, and she's quite humorous. And, with that, she's just a lovely writer. So if you have not seen that book or checked it out, please do. I will say, really, for the past month, though, since that book, I haven't been doing much reading, even though I've been accumulating a couple more books. I just find by the time I go to bed and Gizmo gets a little sundowner syndrome at night, so he gets a bit whiny and grumpy, and it's best to be in bed with lights out to help him calm. So I haven't had my reading time. So I look forward to getting back into that this fall and sharing a lot more with you because there's so many good books out there. And I've been on a bit of a book buying spree this year, accumulating way more than is necessary. And I'd like to get through some of them so that I can share more with you. And quite a few on midlife, but I tell you that Midlife Bites one is just so, so good. So I share all this with you to just say thank you for being here. Peek inside what is going on in my world, what is on the horizon, what I would love to have you be part of, especially with this survey, because I so welcome and crave and desire and am grateful for your input, right, on how can I continue to best serve you. And it's funny, even though, I just turned 50, I mean, really, I've been in midlife, because I would say midlife is 40 to 65. And I know you could even say 35 to 65, or, yes, different people, it's different things. But I'm really feeling it and claiming it and owning it and coming into it at 50. So wherever you are on the spectrum, please know that you are welcome, whether or not you fit in that age demographic or not. But I will be sharing a lot with regard to what happens, right? The challenges with aging and all that fun stuff. I will say there are a lot of pros, as I put in last week's Instagram post, was just about all the ways in which we grow and we change and evolve and come into our own in midlife. It is a gift. It really, really is. But again, not rose-colored glasses here. I also acknowledge the challenge of it. And I wanted to let you know one last thing is on August 18th, I'm going in for another hip surgery. So many of you know I had a hip replacement last year. Well, during the hip replacement surgery, he broke my femur. And so we put a metal band around the femur to, for it to heal. And apparently bone heals quite quickly, so it should be absolutely fine. But in the interim, that metal band is irritating what's called a bursa. Never had I heard about bursas before. But anyway, it's irritating it and causing a lot of pain. And so we're going to go in and have that removed. Apparently, it's just like a 20-minute surgery, but, the recovery will be a few weeks. So if you could send good thoughts next Friday, the 18th, I would be so, so grateful. And hopefully that this will get rid of the pain. Because now I'm even noticing like this shooting, almost like electric pain down the side of my leg. And so I feel like it's hitting, I don't know, is it hitting a nerve? I don't know what is happening, but it's not fun. Definitely in less pain since the replacement. But it's funny, all the complications, as we know, that come with surgery. So hopefully this will fix. And I will be back into point shoes very, very soon. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're signed up for newsletters and getting my weekly love. And I want to say thank you so much for joining the Salon. If you're up for the Coterie, join us. And please give your feedback and thoughts regarding the new book. And if you have an idea on the title, let me know. Again, it will have the outline-ish, right, of Tranquilista, but just like updated, revised, and whatnot to really hone in on midlife. And so if there's anything that you just must have in there, please do not hesitate to either email me, hello@kimberlywilson.com, or fill out that survey. And if you share a little testimonial along with the survey, you will enter to win a Paris care package. I'm talking tea, I'm talking soap, I'm talking rose mints, really fun things. All right, love. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you a delicious, delightful week ahead. And I'll be back in your ears within a couple of weeks with a really fun new podcast interview. Bye-bye.